Whoops. And I think we're live. Grace Gravestock here with New Paradigm Transitions and the Know Yourself Revolution Summit, also with the Know Yourself Revolution podcast. Today, I am interviewing Jessica Lyn, and we are going to be talking about emotions. Jessica and I have had so much fun talking just before we started recording, and I can't wait to share more with you. I'm going to pull up her chart. Jessica, can you say a couple words about yourself while I do that?
I'm Jessica, and I am an inner well-being coach and the creator of the Inner Transformation Technique. But I'd like to talk about myself outside of that as well just a little bit. And I just want to say that there's a few things I'm very proud of, and I love animals. And I have a cat named Bliss and a dog named Ollie, but I also have a squirrel. We rehab 2 squirrels and we set them free. And this squirrel named Twitch comes back and sees me every single day. And I absolutely love that. And that's one of my blessings in life right now. So I just wanted to announce that to the world and say, thank you to this wonderful squirrel blessing. And other than that, I've had a few businesses. I currently have a computer repair company here in Orlando, Florida, and that actually focuses on technology anxiety, not just on repairing computers, but on the anxiety that people feel and reducing that. And I've also worked in theme parks as a professional artist, as well as having my own company for 10 years called Carved Creations that I did make other people's backyards look like a theme park. That was a whole lot of fun and a wonderful chapter in my life. And other than that, I consider myself to be an emotional exploration enthusiast, because I absolutely love diving into the world of emotions and even mindset, thoughts, emotions, they're connected, and discovering what's there and learning, if it really is how it feels. Or is there something else?
Yes, and I love that you said that, Jessica. It's a perfect entree point to us looking at your chart. So Jessica and I are going to get into a fascinating conversation about emotions and why it's so important to befriend your emotions and how she came to all this wisdom. But I wanted to start off by looking at her chart, and we were just marveling before we started recording at how amazingly her chart lines up with her purpose and her story. So I wanted to show you her chart first. If you're into human design, then you'll see right away what I'm talking about. And if you're not, that's okay. I just want to point out a couple things. When I first met Jessica and we started talking about what her favorite topic is about emotions, I just knew right away that she is emotionally defined, is what it's called in human design. And what that means is her decision-making process is based on her emotions. So 50% of humanity have this particular configuration. And what it means is she's here to master her emotions, not let them master her. And so for people who have this configuration, they're meant to have, and you, Jessica, are meant to have a very emotionally rich experience in this life. All the highs, all the lows, and everything in between. And it's a real gift because it's because of you and people like you with this configuration that we can enjoy as much art and music and creativity as we do in this world. And so interestingly, I'll just point this out. I could talk for hours. You have such a fascinating chart. But you've got 3 out of 4 motors, by the way. And so the one we're talking about here that's yellow on this chart is called your emotional solar plexus. And it means that you're here to make decisions based on your emotions and to get clarity over time. So you see on this chart, it says, it says decision-making strategy, respond, then wait for clarity. So what that means is Jessica is going to want to wait to know if she needs to make a decision on something. She's not here to be spontaneous. She is not here to make a quick decision. She needs to sleep on it for the best results. And so I'm saying all this because I know that what she's going to talk about is her emotions and how perfectly aligned her chart is. So my big message to you today, if you get nothing else out of this, is you are perfectly designed to be and do exactly what you came here to be and do. You're not broken at all. There's nothing about you that's broken. There's nothing out of order at all, no matter what anyone has ever told you. And I'm showing you Jessica's chart because it's going to inform what she's going to talk about. And I'm going to tell you one other thing. So the first thing is the fact that she's here to master her emotions is no surprise to me. And that's what we're going to talk the most about in just a minute. But I wanted to point one other thing out, which is her grand purpose. In human design, that's also called your incarnation cross. So I was sharing with her before, and I'm sharing it out of Karen Curry Parker's Encyclopedia of Human Design. Her purpose in life is to lead, teach, and inspire others to pursue their dreams and hopes, to share new possibilities and potentials that enable others to release limiting patterns and habits that keep people from dreaming large and allowing the full potential and expression of their abundance, to provoke and challenge limitations that keep people from fulfilling their dreams, to help others explore their limitations, and through practice and repetition, we'll get to that in a minute, break free from old patterns and habits that keep people from fulfilling the full potential of their dreams. So I just had to share that because I thought it's so fascinating, and we could talk for a lot longer, but I don't want to take away from Jessica's time to share with you her key message. But thank you so much for being on the show today, Jessica. I'm super excited to hear what you have to share with us. You have a fascinating story about how you came to appreciate emotions. And gosh, there's a lot in your story that I want you to share. So I'm going to just let you jump right in. And we've called this how and why to befriend your emotions. So in that frame, if you could tell us a little bit about your personal transformation story and how you came to become an expert on this, even though you obviously have so many other talents and a professional background that's pretty impressive, especially the Disney Imagineer thing. I think that we could probably talk for a long time on that too. But let's get to the emotions, because that's even better. So tell us about the challenges that you overcame to get us to where we are today with your mastery of emotions.
Well, I'll start at the beginning when I was very, very young. But I will mention that all of the other endeavors that I mentioned, all of the businesses and the art career and all of that stuff also played an enormous role in me getting to where I am today and offering this to the world. But my biggest challenge, I think, was as a very young person, as long as I can remember, I woke up with a very, very intense, heavy feeling of dread. And as a young person, I didn't even have the verbal language to explain what I was feeling. So I didn't reach out for help. No one knew that I woke up that way every day. And for a very long time, I actually thought that's how everybody woke up every day. And then eventually, when I could verbalize it, I finally had some discussions with some people, and I got empathy, I got compassion, but nobody really knew how to help me growing up. Everybody just said, well, we all have different circumstances and we just deal with it. So on my journey, I also because I was very, very shy, that dread feeling kind of woke me up, started off my day with fear. And then I would walk with my head down. I was scared of everything, and people labeled that shy. But to me, I was scared. And I wanted to be known. I'm scared. I'm not shy. Like, I want to talk to people. I want to make friends, but I'm shy. So that didn't change. I didn't know what to do with that either. So I ended up being bullied a lot and quite intensely. And that went on for a long time. But then in 10th grade, it got to an extreme. And that was, I walked into school one day and the halls parted. Kids just parted and they let me walk down the hall by myself. And apparently someone had spread a rumor that I was gay. And so as I'm walking down the hall, people were calling me these names of things I'd never even heard before. And at first, because I didn't really know what these names were, what they meant, I didn't know what was happening. And so it was a very traumatizing type of situation. And to make things worse, when my mother finally did tell the principal about it, he actually announced it over the intercom. And that was his solution to say, stop the bullying. And it really made the situation worse. And it got so bad that I actually had to move from a small town into a city, which also absolutely terrified me. And to be completely honest, I don't know if I came up with this idea on my own or if I spoke with someone and they gave me the idea, but they pointed out to me that the people in the new school have no idea who I am. They don't know how I act. They don't have any expectations of me. So I took the time with that to decide, who do I want to become? What do I want them to see about me? And I made a decision that, to the best of my ability, even though I was absolutely terrified, I would go into this new school and I would lift my head up. I would not walk with my head down anymore. And I would look people in the eyes. I would learn their name and I would say, "Hi, how are you?" Whatever your name is. And I would do that. And that actually made a huge difference in the next 2.5 years of school. And I also challenged myself by running for homeroom rep, which I lost by 2 against someone that had been homeroom rep every single time that anyone ran. And so that gave me an extra little lift as well. And then in that same time frame, I ended up with psychology on my schedule at school. And what I learned in psychology was exactly what I had just done, and the psychology behind what I had just done, and uplifting myself and making that change for myself. But there was a point where I was like thinking to myself, is this it? Like, is life meant to be waking up with dread every day and feeling scared all the time and just having these heavy emotions that you're struggling with? And it's almost to the point where I got to the point where I was, one part of me was telling me things about myself and the other part of me was saying, no, I'm not those things. I'm better than that. I'm more than that. And so I had to find out. It got to the point where this confusion about life, or this hope that there was more, but not knowing how to get to it and not really even knowing if I could, kind of like a blossom that's tight in the bud, I finally had to know. I just had to open up and I had to know. And so I didn't have the ability to control anyone else, to discover how humans work and how you could possibly find something better for yourself. The only one I could control was me. So I literally made myself my favorite subject. And I know that might sound weird, but I started to be as curious and as fascinated about myself as I was about a new friend or a potential romantic relationship or even a piece of art. I started to look at myself with that level of curiosity and wonder. And when I did that, I surprisingly found that there wasn't this judgment. The judgments kind of faded away, and there was a self-acceptance that showed up because I was looking at myself with curiosity instead of judgment. And that was a fascinating thing to discover. And I went with it even further. One of the biggest challenges that came after that was in my 20s. I was in a very, very difficult, challenging relationship, very codependent, really, really bad. And all of my friends got so sick and tired of me complaining about it for 3 years and not doing anything except the same thing over and over again and acting like I was insane. My very last friend finally slammed the door in my face and said, "I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not listening to you anymore. You need to fix it." And I went to the park that day and I sat there and I realized I was completely and utterly alone. And I was desperate and I had no one to go to. And out of my desperation, I went to a friend's mom that I barely knew. And I knocked on her door and I just started crying, and she knew there was something. So she let me in. It was a wonderful time. She introduced me to all these amazing fruits that I'd never tried before. I'm from New England. So here I am in Orlando, and now there's star fruit and mango and papaya. And she gave me like 2 or 3 different herbal teas she had brewed that I had never tried before. And she was opening me up just from these experiences. And we sat and talked, and she asked me a bunch of questions. And she never gave me any advice. But at the end, she kind of like pushed me towards the door and she handed me a book. And the book was Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawan. And she said, if you're really serious about seeing something different in your life, here you go. And she just handed me the book, and that was it. She pushed me out the door completely alone with a book. And so I had nothing else except this book. So it was like, what have I got to lose? So I jumped into this book, and it really opened me up to the idea that there are things going on inside of me and in the invisible in this world that allow me to become responsible for my inner world and my outer world. And so I dove into that, and I tried some of the exercises. Good things happened. And because it was so intriguing, I dove into personal development. I went into shamanism, Taoism, Buddhism, um, different religions, different authors, A Course in Miracles, energy work, all sorts of things. I eventually found out that I am an empath, and that has a lot to do with the emotional side of things. And I also discovered that when I was younger, and I did hear voices and got very clear insights into things that were going to happen. If something was broken, I knew what was wrong with it at 4 or 5 years old, things I should never have known. During that time frame when my family found out about this, it made them very nervous. And so I shut it down. And now I realize that this is a level of, and even I think it was mentioned in the chart, even there's information coming in from higher dimensions. I think that was expressed in my chart also. And so now I understand that I actually do have access to these things, and it's not a bad thing. And so I'm working diligently now to enhance those abilities that I did once have at one time. But as far as the rest of the story goes, after that when I started that path of opening up and trying to create my own life, that's how I found the avenue into the art world and becoming a professional artist. And that was an incredible gift. But the art environment that I worked in was incredibly challenging. A lot of egos, a lot of people addicted to different substances are working on the same construction sites that I was working in. A lot of emotional things coming at me that were very, very intense. So it's a good thing that the art was something that I wanted so, so badly, and I enjoyed so, so much, because otherwise I would have left the environment, because it was a challenging environment. And I say, thank God, because the environment that I was in, and me wanting and desiring to be there and to really enjoy the artwork, made me have this determination to figure out how I personally could deal with the emotions that were coming at me from so many people empathically, and my own emotions about my low self-esteem, low self-worth, imposter syndrome, et cetera, et cetera. How am I going to be able to be here and deal with these things? And that is where the inner transformation technique was born. I had to figure it out.
Oops, there we go. I love that. So I want to highlight before you get into that technique, because I think that's so it's so profound. What you're going to talk about next. I just want to highlight that all the things that led you to this point were all, I mean, if you look at it through the lens of life happens for me, not to me, I just want to highlight that. So if you're listening today and you are thinking of your own story and how whatever you've been through, I mean, it was hard. It was probably hard and painful. And it probably wasn't fun, but there is a purpose for it. And there is a reason and something. Probably there's a lot of benefits that have come from it in terms of learning. We could certainly look at that in your chart, but what was born of it for you, Jessica, I know, is this technique that you're about to share with us, and I can't wait to hear about it. But I just want to point out that if you are listening and you are touched by Jessica's story, I want you to think about the possibility that it could be happening, whatever's happening to you, it could actually be happening for you. And there's probably a breakthrough coming really soon. And it might result in something as amazing as what Jessica is about to share with us in terms of wisdom. I mean, these things that happen for us to learn things and happen for us to realize things. And in this case, Jessica, I know you're about to tell us about a really amazing process. So I'm going to stop talking. Tell us more about this thing that came out of all of that.
Okay. So I know that many, many people on this planet will, if you ask how they're doing, they're great. They've accomplished this, they're doing that, all these things. But I myself, because of the empathic, when someone tells me one thing, I can feel the truth. And so I know that there's so many people on this planet that they're really trying to have great relationships, create amazing businesses, bring their dreams into their life, all of these things. And yet there's this underlying emotional struggle. And that's exactly what I experienced, basically in my entire life, in anything that I tried to do that was new, or even in a social environment. So what I started doing, especially on the sites that I was building art, is I started allowing everything that came at me to come at me. And instead of being like, oh, there's that feeling of, I'm not worthy sort of feeling, I would go, welcome, welcome. Thank you for showing yourself to me. Thank you for all the times that you've shown up to let me know that there's something that I should be worried about, or to protect me in some way. And I started also not just doing that, but going, I know you're here to inform me of something, and I just haven't learned your language yet, but I'm trying. And I want to know how to communicate with you. And I want to know what information you have for me. And so I just want to say thank you for your courage, for showing up, even though I typically push you away and ignore you. And then I would tell myself, it's okay for me to feel the way that I do. I'm allowed to feel the way that I do. It's okay. And that was the beginning. And that is actually the beginning of the technique. And from there, it goes even deeper, because I started spending so much time doing that, and so much time with these feelings and these emotions, that they started to reveal little bits and pieces of information to me. And I started to figure out that there is power, energy, and wisdom in every single one of them. And all they're doing is they're showing up as resistance, because they're saying, hey, when I was 4 or 5 years old, this thing happened, and now I know that's a bad idea, without realizing that I'm now 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, and there's new information. So I started to figure out if there was a way that I could communicate with these emotions. And basically, they're all resistance. You can label them all kinds of things, but they're saying, hey, don't go there, don't do that. And they're making it very challenging and difficult for you to enjoy doing something, or even doing it for that matter, because we get paralyzed a lot. And so I started actually addressing them like I would a young child, coming up to me and tugging on my shoulder and saying, hey, I'm feeling, hurt. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling this or that. And I started to actually have communication with myself in that way. Now, because of the creative process that I use with art, I learned, it opens me up, that creative process opens me up to receiving information that I probably would not otherwise have access to. And so I started, because I was in that environment already, I was already open doing artwork. I just stayed that way with the emotions. And what I learned was different ideas, different techniques, different exercises, different little things to try, just like you would if you were an artist with a new paintbrush or a new tool, or you're trying a new technique someone taught you. You use it the way they taught you until you get another intuitive idea of how you can use it that would work best for you. And so I started to get these little ideas, and I started to use them with my imagination as well. But the key was body sensation, emotion, and energy, because a lot of our emotions come up pre-language. And that's a big key to understand. A lot of us try to do only mindset work. That's language. So I hit a plateau. The mindset work wasn't working. So I had to discover a way to communicate with what I was sensing, feeling, that didn't have language. So with that, some people can use imagery very easily and some people can't. So some people just use the sensations, and some people will actually get images. Some people get smell, hearing, they'll hear things, but through the process, you're basically allowing yourself to open up to the communication of what your body and your energy, emotional body, is trying to express to you. And you're noticing what you notice. It's really, it's a challenge, and it takes a lot of practice totally worth it and rewarding. It takes a lot of diligence and practice, but it is simple. And it is simply by going, I'm going to accept whatever shows up within me, and I'm going to view it as a sacred piece of myself, and I'm going to value it and ask it what it has to offer. And the more that I did this with the technique, which eventually added an emotion of a nice big hug. So even if it was dread, I'd wrap a great big hug around it and be like, thank you for having the courage to show up and communicate with me. Because it's just as challenging on the other side as it is for the person consciously doing it. And there's a lot of trust to be gained there. And one thing I'd like to point out is that my discovery was every time that I pushed my emotions aside without any communication and said, I don't have time for you, forget it, go away. I don't want to deal with you, especially the dread. When I was young, I did that a lot. But in this process, while I was discovering this, anytime that I pushed away, that was self-abandonment. And every time that I abandoned a part of me that was asking for my attention, love, nurturing, I couldn't trust myself. And when I didn't trust myself, I didn't like myself. And when I didn't like myself, I felt lost, empty, and felt, honestly, what's the point? I felt like, what's the point? Why am I here? What is all this for? And it was very, very empty, lost feeling. And so my message is that your emotions are literally a part of you, and they have wisdom, energy, power. And the more that you just turn yourself to them and say, I value you, let's get to know each other, the more you will actually learn about yourself. And those energies will turn into a support for you. You'll eventually gain their trust, and they will start to support you. So when you go to do something next time, you'll do it and you'll go, oh my gosh, I just did that thing that I couldn't do for 13 years. And I just did it without even thinking about it, because that energy didn't show up to pull you back and pull into the resistance, because it wasn't scared anymore. It now trusted you as the adult to do the thing and be safe. And so the technique, it goes into more than that. I have many exercises that bring you into an experience of each piece of the technique. And at the end, you can create the technique that works the best for you. You can take these pieces, you can enhance on them just like an artist would with their tools or anyone's technique. You can shift them, you can put one before the other, whatever works best for you. The whole gamut of experiences turns into a technique that is customized and unique for the person, for the individual.
I love that. And Jessica, you said to me before that the gift you want everyone to experience in this lifetime is to truly know, trust, and love and like themselves. And that's what will change the world for the good of all. And I completely agree. I couldn't agree more. And in fact, you being one of the first speakers for this summit series is just so it's so perfectly aligned. I mean, when when I saw what you were doing and I invited you on the show, it's just like I couldn't have asked for someone that's so more aligned than you are. And so as I was reading your story and everything, it's just so amazing how everything that has happened to you has happened for you. And now it's brought you to this place to have so much wisdom to share. I know there was an exercise that we're going to wrap up in just a minute. I want you to talk about the download, the free ebook that you're offering. And I'm just wondering, do we have time to do that exercise that you talked about?
Yeah. So the ebook is at sacredinteractions.com. And it is 5 ways to befriend your emotions. And I truly, truly believe that is a fantastic and one of the best ways to start to get to know yourself, like yourself, trust yourself, and absolutely fall in love with yourself. So go ahead, grab that book. And you can also connect with me there at Sacred Interactions for a conversation or on Facebook as well. And the exercise involves an item. So if you want to pick an item that's around you, it could be anything. Anything at all. Okay. You want to talk about the glass and the water? All right.
I guess I'm not sure where we're going with this, but we'll try.
Okay, well, that's actually a really simple one. Most things are really complicated, so this will be nice and short. Okay, where does glass come from?
Sand.
Sand. Okay. And where does sand come from?
The earth.
Okay. So first of all, we already have the earth supporting us by providing sand for this glass, right? We also have the earth providing for us with the water that's in the glass. Okay. Now, the water's a whole other subject, because if you think about it, from the beginning of time, as far as we know, we're recycling the same water over and over and over again. So because if there's anyone that feels prejudice against anyone, or I'll just stop there, prejudice against anyone, I'm sorry to tell you, but you are probably drinking water that has been involved with someone that you may or may not be prejudiced against. Okay, so you can't get away from that. The water is part of all of us. Okay, and that's all the way as far as time. Now, the glass and the sand. So we have people involved in getting the sand. We have someone involved in cleaning the sand. There would be a plant. So when they go pick up the sand, it involves tractors, trucks. And then they bring it to a plant that involves a plant that's probably run by people. It's still, anyway, it may not be in 10 years, but it's still now. It's run by people. And the sand has to be cleaned. And so there's a whole cleaning process. Somebody had to figure that out, first of all. And then it has to be shipped to a place that probably uses fire to melt it down. I don't know the whole process of glass making, but if you think about it just now already.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jessica. I think I just want to make, for people that just might have just joined us, what is I think what you're illustrating is how we're all connected, right? And how we're all fully supported all the time. I'm just not sure if that was clear to start with. So I wanted to make sure everybody can follow what you're doing. So feel free to add in any more, and then, yeah, let's finish that story. I think it's fantastic.
So just with what we've mentioned so far, we haven't even made the glass yet. We've only cleaned the sand and melted it, right? If you think of every tractor that was made that dug up that sand and dumped it in a truck, and you think of every truck, somebody had to make the metal. Somebody had to mine the metal for that. Somebody had to make the rubber. So somebody had to go and get, if we're still getting rubber from rubber trees, they had to go and get the material for that. So the nuts, the bolts, the oil also comes from the earth, and we have people that are mining that. We have tires. We have truck drivers. We have the people that manufactured the trucks, the people that created the manufacturing building that build the trucks. Do you see where this is going? Like, I could sit here and go through the whole process of making that one glass, and we're going to go all the way around the world with finding the materials for every single piece of how that glass got to you. And so even we've discussed how life happens for you. Life is happening right now in support of you in a personal manner, in your mind, heart, soul, spirit, all of that. But it's happening physically in the world all the time. And we haven't even gotten to the person that makes the glass. And there's already probably thousands and thousands of people involved in the trucks and the rubber and the metal and the sand. And it goes on and on and on.
So I just want to interrupt you and just say that, so the application for, if somebody's just joining us, is you are fully supported. And this example you can use to prove to yourself that you are fully supported at any given time. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is where you're going with it, Jessica, that we are all fully supported all the time, and everything about our reality can demonstrate to us, if we look, how we are fully supported in being and doing exactly what we're here to be and do. Is that
absolutely? And I want to go one step further,
please, yeah,
and say that at any point in time that you recognize that all the things around you have come from all around the world, and thousands, possibly millions of people. Just in your home, you could probably reach millions of people with the things that you have. If you go like this, if you truly appreciate these things and you just go, I am so grateful for all of the things here and for the fact that I've been supported by all these people around the world, strangers, people I may never, ever meet. And I just want them all to feel my gratitude and my appreciation in this moment. And just imagine that energy being sent out and just touching the hearts of every single one that has provided you with these things, and say, thank you. I hope you know how much I appreciate what you've done. Someone around the world could suddenly feel fantastic and have no idea why. But it's because you took the time to recognize that you're being supported and to show that appreciation and to share it.
I love that. And I just want to highlight to you, if you don't have a gratitude practice, I mean, you didn't say that, you didn't know, probably even know this, Jessica, but I have a practice on my website, activateyourlifepurpose.com, which is a 2-step gratitude practice. And so if you've tried that before and you've struggled to find something to be thankful for, maybe you're going through a rough spot in your life, this is a fantastic first step to getting into that frequency of gratitude. And if you've watched my video at activateyourlifepurpose.com, you'll know that what I share is that you have to get into the frequency of gratitude first before you can intentionally create. So I love what you're sharing here, Jessica, because it's so immediately practical and useful for everyone to recognize at any given point in time. Whenever you see a glass of water, I want you to remember, associate with this story, and remember that you are fully supported. And if you really trace it back, you have so much to be grateful for. And the benefit of you expressing that gratitude is not just that it'll put you in a higher state, a higher frequency, a frequency from which you can create. It's a powerful place to be. But like Jessica pointed out, the object of your gratitude, the person or the being or whatever, the animal or whatever it is that you're feeling grateful for and towards, they might be able to feel it. I mean, there's some factors in there about their level of consciousness and stuff, but I have actually experienced it both sides of that. And I can attest that what you're saying, Jessica, is absolutely true. And I think we all probably, if we gave it a shot, would realize that that is true. So if you're skeptical right now, I want you to consider the possibility that you are fully supported, that you're perfect the way you are, perfectly designed to be and do exactly what you're here to be and do, and that life is happening for you, not to you. And when you start to look at what you can be grateful for now, as if it's already true, and you can attach that thought to this reality where you can pick up anything in your field and recognize that all of it is there to support you. There's on so many levels, you can't help but feel gratitude. And when you're in that state of gratitude, that's when miracles happen. So I love that you brought that up. Thank you so much, Jessica. And if you haven't got Jessica's book, her ebook, I'm going to show it again on the screen here. Get it at sacredinteractions.com, 5 ways to befriend your emotions. So I think it's pretty clear by now why and how to befriend your emotions. First of all, it's about awareness. I mean, tapping into the fact that you have emotions and that they're trying to communicate with you and that there's a reason and there's a message, and then stopping to listen. I mean, I know that the way my life is so busy all the time, I don't always stop. I'm trying, but I do have a daily gratitude practice because that's what I talk about. So having that time every day where I put a timer on and I just am quiet and I just feel grateful for everything that I have, and I put it on paper and write it down, and that gives me the opportunity to articulate it. That is where the power and the magic happens, because that's when you really bring it to awareness, when you have to put pen to paper. And by the way, you don't have to do it. You can verbalize it. You can think it. You can dream it. You can dance it. The important point is to get into that frequency of gratitude. But all of that doesn't start until you bring conscious awareness to it, which is what I think you're saying, Jessica. And I think one of your key messages here, and why and how your emotions can guide you. And so, again, if you have an emotional experience with life, know that it's for your benefit. And if you haven't got her free ebook, get it now, 5 ways to befriend your emotions, sacredinteractions.com. And to and then we'll wrap up, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the Know Yourself Revolution. So, Jessica, is there anything that you would want to say to people as a final closing thought? I know that people are drawn to this particular interview, especially who have struggled with their emotions, struggled to understand their emotions. Is there any final words that you would have for them in that journey, that based on your wisdom?
The main thing that I would love people to understand is your emotions are not your enemy. And if you start anywhere, like everything's challenging, start with, it's okay for me to feel the way that I do. They're trying to tell me something and I just don't understand it yet. And it's okay. And give yourself permission to feel. Because many of us, being brought up, we're told, either don't feel that or quit being a baby or, figure it out. Like, we get very short statements and then we're left with, what do I do with this intensity of what I'm feeling and experiencing? And so honestly, just give yourself permission to feel it. It's okay that I feel the way that I do. It's a part of me and I want to get to know myself. I want to get to know you. So show me the way. If you don't find my technique or my emotions manual, quote unquote, there's others. There's millions of them out there now, all kinds of ways. So just find something, but start there. It's okay for me to feel the way that I do. And I want to get to know all parts of me. You're a part of me. I accept you.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Jessica. And if somebody did want to work with you, I mean, obviously they can reach out to you on Facebook. We have your handle here and your website. Would you want to say a couple words about what you offer? Like, what is the process that you would take somebody through? Do you do it individually? Is it groups? Like, give us a little overview of what you can offer and maybe who you can help.
So I plan to do another group course probably February. But right now I'm doing what was requested. I've had some clients actually say, I went through the group course, that say, I really would love to do this course on a more intimate level. So I've come up with a 3-month, very intimate one-on-one group course to discover your emotions and to learn to love, know, like, and love and trust yourself. And that's one-on-one. So you could reach out. That I've called that Success from Within, creating, I believe it's, I don't even have it in front of me, creating success for a business life, but it's life. It's life in general. It can be for anything. And it's a journey. It's a journey that we go on. We go through different experiences. You discover how you work. You discover how your emotions want you to communicate with them. You discover all these things about yourself, and you pull out of that technique what you need. And that's what I'm doing currently. And I'm super excited about it. It's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, I love your stories, and thank you so much for sharing with us today, Jessica. If you haven't got your ebook yet, 5 Ways to Befriend Your Emotions, you will learn a lot. I've also struggled with my emotions in my life, trying to understand what they mean, and most of the time not feeling them at all. So that's probably a different, but perhaps related thing. Maybe we could talk about it on a different interview, because we're out of time right now. But thank you so much, Jessica. It's been such a pleasure. Like I said, if you want to reach out to Jessica, please reach out to her at our website, sacredinteractions.com, or through Facebook, Coach Jessica Lyn. And until next time, make sure that you go to knowyourselfrevolution.com to get interviews like this and many others that will motivate and inspire you to realize that you are not broken, but perfect the way you are, perfectly designed to be and do what you're here to be and do, and that the mess or messes in your life are actually leading you towards a better fulfillment, a more satisfying and enjoyable fulfillment of your life purpose. It's not for you. It's not to you. It's for you, so that you can get into your purpose work and you can find a life, create a life intentionally full of joy and purpose and meaning. And because, we have a certain amount of days, why not enjoy them?
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
Thanks again, Jessica.
Thanks you so much.
If you're listening, reach out to Jessica if you haven't, and Until next time.